You see the little statuettes often of the three monkeys: see no see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and that reminds me of the bureaucracy, the State Department bureaucracy, the deep state, if you will, was and remains in cover-up mode for Hillary Clinton, which probably leads us to the thing that everyone remembers as it relates to Hillary Clinton's emails. It's the infamous deletion of the 33,000 emails. And one of the extraordinary developments in this case is we were able to talk to Mrs. Clinton's personal lawyer who deleted those emails. And she wasn't, and her name is Heather Samuelson, but I think it's important to realize, and it didn't click with me until her testimony, well, she just wasn't Hillary Clinton's lawyer. She just didn't drop out of the sky and become Hillary Clinton's lawyer. But she had other positions in the Obama administration that are going to be shocking to people.
Right. Well, she worked under Secretary Clinton as the White House Liaison's office at the State Department during her tenure.
So a sensitive political position in the State Department.
Sensitive political position in the State Department, and she was in charge of hiring all of the political appointees during Secretary Clinton's tenure.
So if you were a campaign volunteer or donor or a Clinton Foundation funder and you wanted a job, you had to go through her to get one.
Well, she testified that on occasions, Doug Band, who's a Clinton Foundation official, that he had sent several requests, recommending certain individuals to be hired and considered.
So her testimony on what she knew and when she knew about the Clinton email usage is rather curious.
It's very significant. It seems to be in conflict with at least with the notes that were taken by the FBI officials in the 302.
So the FBI interviewed her,
right,
and they have a document of that interview. It's called a 302 report.
Right. And
the 302 report, what they ask her generally that you were interested in?
Well, the notation is that she informed the FBI that she didn't know about the fact that she used a private email account until after she left the State Department, until she became her attorney in 2014.
Huh. And what did she tell you? Under oath later.
Under oath, her testimony is that she became aware that Secretary Clinton used her personal email while she was at the State Department.
Huh. So let's presume the FBI accurately recounted her testimony to them. What would have been her interest in telling them that she didn't know about it while she was at State?
Well, obviously.
And our listeners are smart, they can figure that out too, but tell them.
Right. I mean, you have another senior official at the State Department who is aware of Secretary Clinton's emails. And the significance of Heather Samuelson is just going back to 2012, 2013, with the White House, Obama's White House, the crew FOIA request, the individual who the Obama White House was speaking with was Heather Samuelson. And from the documents, it's Heather Samuelson and Miss Walter, Cheryl Walter. However,
so Samuelson was still at the State Department at the time?
Yes.
She was there after Mrs. Clinton left for a
Yes. This is what the documents tell us, that they were in communication with the State Department. However, both Ms. Samuelson and Ms. Walter testified that they don't recall speaking with anybody at the White House about the crew request.
So irrespective of the White House, Samuelson at the State Department knew Hillary Clinton had email system. It was using personal emails to conduct government business.
Yes.
Yet she was involved in an answer to a requester saying otherwise.
Well, she was definitely involved with respect to coordination as to how the State Department was going to be responding to crew.
So then she went over to the Obama White House to work in the White House counsel's office for a time, right?
For a year, approximately a year.
And then she went where?
And then she left the Obama White House in 2014 and became Secretary Clinton's lawyer.
And then she's the point person, by her own admission, on the email issue as her personal lawyer. Was she, my question before we get into that, was there a conflict there potentially because of her involvement with it at the State Department?
Well, I mean, that's a bigger question. So Heather Samuelson was hired by Cheryl Mills to work on this and become Secretary Clinton's lawyer. So we know that Cheryl Mills, upon leaving the State Department, has worked as Secretary Clinton's
Okay, so
lawyer.
you had two conflicted people, to put it charitably.
Right, so
I would say compromise rather than conflicted. But so Cheryl Mills hires Samuelson for Mrs. Clinton on the email issue.
Well, on other related matters, and then also the email issue.
What related matters?
I don't know. We couldn't go. Well, we couldn't go into those in the questioning, but we did go into the specific email issue.
So the gig is up. The jig is up. Whatever the phrase is, and Hillary's lawyer says, "Okay, we got to give the emails back to the State Department."
Okay. Well,
the emails we say we have back to the State Department.
Right. As early as July. Late July, early August, Secretary Clinton and the State Department were in discussions about returning hard copies of Secretary Clinton's emails.
And we have those documents from other litigation we've talked about with Cheryl Mills was running interference in that regard. I mean, just...
That's an email from Cheryl Mills.
Yes.
So it's not even so much even, you know, what the testimony of Heather Samuelson is, but we have the document. I mean, it speaks for itself.
So Samuelson was the leader on behalf of Mrs. Clinton, right?
Well, she worked under Cheryl Mills and David Kendall for reviewing, but Ms. Samuelson was the person who did the review of all of the emails. So
there's 60,000 plus emails. Right. In theory, well, did she talk about how she reviewed them?
Yes, she spoke about it. She initially did a review of the 60,000. And initially she looked at tos and froms and also did like an individual search, meaning searched all the emails by certain individuals. And then looking at the subject matter to determine if she thought those were State Department related. From there, she found about 30,000 or so to be state related.
And everything else she deleted without looking at them?
Initially she deleted off her laptop, and then they were deleted from the FBI 302s. We know they were deleted from the server.
So go back, compare and contrast that process that she testified to what John Hackett, the State Department official, said should have happened, right, which is an individualized review of each email.
Right.
Now, we're taking all this at face value, to be clear. I know there are people who suspect that they went and deleted emails purposely that they didn't want people to see, but this is what her testimony was. And there are enough legal issues with the deletion, irrespective of actually what the real story is. What she testified to is legally problematic, in my view, in terms of a potential criminal obstruction and other things. That's what the investigation was about. But what's incredible is, and I know there have been all these criticisms, rightly so, of the government handing immunity out to these Clinton email witnesses. So she deletes all these emails, and she talked about getting immunity.
Right.
Talk about that.
So she was provided, I don't know how, when we asked her about the immunity she was provided, she termed it as a partial document protection. I'm not sure, but in my world that's immunity by the DOJ. And that was provided, her testimony is that it was provided after she provided the interview to the FBI.
So she gets interviewed, she didn't get immunity for the interview.
No.
But evidently there's documents the FBI or Justice Department wanted.
Right.
And, you know, she wanted immunity, or she received immunity before producing these documents.
Well, and well, it was after producing, so it was after the State Department, after Secretary Clinton returned the 30,000, but obviously it was
the interview. The immunity was given to her when?
In it was in 2015. 16.
June, was it June? It was June, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so Clinton was cleared when?
July.
So she's given immunity, granted immunity for the production of documents related to Mrs. Clinton's email usage, presumably the destruction of records. I'm kind of guessing here.
I mean,
but I mean, what would be the universe of records?
It's either destruction. It's either the records and the deletion of records, but it also can be with respect to having classified information in unsecure systems.
Well, the State Department didn't care about that. I mean, we have all these emails showing they didn't care that that David Kendall had classified material over there. Oh, do you have it in a safe? Oh, okay, that's good enough. I mean, just the double standard in terms of the lackadaisical approach towards the mishandling classified information that they took, not only Mrs. Clinton but her lawyers, is unbelievable. So we're kind of burying the lead here. So the news is that the lawyer who deleted the emails for Mrs. Clinton, those 33,000 emails, got immunity from the Justice Department.
Has immunity.
And I don't think that's been public before.
I don't know if it was been that Ms. Samuelson received immunity before. I know that we've known about Cheryl Mills.
Cheryl Mills, the
other attorney
right.
who was in charge of reviewing and seeing what to do with the other 30,000 emails.
Boy, so there's a lot we've uncovered.
Just one thing I just want to correct. With respect, you are asking me about the process that Heather Samuelson undertook to review the emails. What I described was kind of the second part of the review to make sure that she testified was to ensure that she uncovered everything that was potentially government related. The initial review was just looking for anything .gov or .mil, but that's not of much significance because we know that Secretary Clinton and Jacob Sullivan communicated, and Huma Abedin, and Cheryl Mills,
and Chelsea Clinton.
Right. I mean, there were communications from non-state.gov to other non-government emails, communications about government business.
So this is all information that you're hearing about is a result of Ramona and 4 or 5 other colleagues on our attorney team here at Judicial Watch taking court-authorized discovery. And this isn't Judicial Watch who wanted these questions answered. Whether Hillary Clinton used her system to avoid FOIA, whether the court was hoodwinked. The court wants to know whether Benghazi was one of the reasons for the cover-up. And as importantly, because it's a Freedom of Information Act case, well, where are there other emails potentially that we might have the right to access and have reviewed? And so we've gotten this incredible testimony implicating the Obama White House both in the cover-up of her system, the State Department in the cover-up of her system, including allowing classified information to walk out the door potentially, just to protect themselves and Hillary Clinton, ignored warnings of the destruction of records that they allowed to take place despite knowing that was not appropriate. And then one of the key people who knew about her emails in the State Department and then did this slapdash review of her emails by her own admission, gets immunity from the Justice Department after deleting 33,000 emails. Just incredible. And it's Judicial Watch that's getting the information out.